Hello, I'm Christopher Crumley, Associate Editor at SDM Magazine, and today my guest is.
Good afternoon. I'm Peter Boriskin, CTO for ASSA ABLOY Americas Opening Solutions.
Thank you so much for making time. And I believe, sort of the general topic we're going to be kind of covering is sort of navigating and organizing a team towards, goals, right? And so my first question is kind of, what leadership practices are, most effective perhaps, or, effective in general at motivating employees towards that goal?
It's a great question. I think one of the things that we're finding as we look not only at the different products that we have, different product families that we have, but also the different generations of employees that we have, because we now have three different generations all working in the same workspace. And there aren't a lot of things that are unifying across them, but one thing I think we find more than anything else is purpose. And I'll give you an example of how that looks. When we look at sustainability, for example, so a lot of our products are focused on reducing material, reducing carbon footprint, reducing cost. Sustainability might be the purpose, but everyone can find a different aspect of that that's meaningful to them. For example, there are folks who are very driven by carbon footprint, and this is an area where we're seeing the first net zero hotel has gone up right in our backyard in New Haven. We have college campuses that are looking at net zero buildings, and they're very driven by that, trying to do good and do well at the same time. And that's what sustainability means to them, and that's their purpose. But we also see folks who aren't necessarily focused on a particular trend of sustainability, but they're looking at the bottom line. And they are saying, okay, well, these kinds of products can reduce the amount of energy I'm spending, I'm wasting, the heating, ventilation, air conditioning that's going out and around my doors and windows, and they're seeing a dollars and cents approach to it. And so the purpose for them is decreasing their spend each year. And so this notion of purpose, I think, helps drive people to that. And when we work with, let's say, colleges and universities, where we do some R&D projects that are collaborative with colleges and universities, they're especially driven by purpose. And they like the notion that, okay, this is a product or product area, product family that might not be as exciting as lasers, but it goes to this purpose. And I think we find that people can rally around that. And of course, we're in the safety and security space. So safety and security, clearly. We have products that are focused on windstorm. And we just, within the last 24 hours, saw some pretty terrible tornadoes here in the U.S. And so we have products that are focused on FEMA-rated shelters and openings, and how to create a safe space, safe environment, whether that's a hospital or a K through 12 or university or wherever it might be. And there again, I think people are driven by this purpose. Okay, yes, it's a product that does a particular job, but when you think about who might be sheltered behind that door, I think that helps really drive this notion of purpose.
Wonderful. Yeah, no, I think that was perfectly insightful, especially on the topic of, the spanning the generations. I hear that come up time and time again, but it's something I had not even considered before this conversation, specific to this conversation. So great. And I think that bleeds well into the next question, the idea of purpose. My next question has a bit to do with, sort of company culture, how an organization can encourage its employees to overcome challenges in reaching those end goals through its company culture. What can it kind of enforce through its company culture to do this?
It's also a very good question, and it's one that we think about we think about all the time. In terms of how can you, I mean, my opinion is culture is not a thing that you create. Culture is an outcome of the things that you do. And I think if you're trying to chase creating a culture, you're going to be chasing it a long time. But if you create the right environment, then hopefully the culture kind of manifests itself around doing the right things. And so, what are the right things? In our opinion, or at least in my opinion, it is about providing the flexibility for employees to, again, take these sort of educated risks and educated guesses. So give people the flexibility and the room to try things, test things, learn. If you're going to fail, fail quickly, so that those educated guesses and calculated risks are relatively small, right? Many small bets. Most will pay off, some won't, but that's okay, especially if you learn quickly. Reward those tests and those kinds of trials, and then also try and be a good role model, right? Do what you want to see done. So we do try. We're a very distributed organization, and we do try to make sure that the leaders around the different businesses themselves have an opportunity to try things, experiment, and most work out, some don't. That's okay. And if you see leaders willing to sort of take those chances and learn from them, then people are more inclined to do likewise. They realize that that's not going to be punished if you make a mistake, right? So I think it's about flexibility. I think it's about empowerment, and I think it's about setting a good example and walking the walk.
My next question is there a role that training and employee development kind of play into this?
Absolutely. I think the skills that folks are going to need are evolving constantly. And not only do people feel supported and cared for when they're invested in, right? So I think you want to make sure people understand that they are the most important part of the business by investing in them and by investing in training, but also the kinds of skills that they need are evolving. For example, cybersecurity once upon a time was relegated to enterprise network security, right? The security of the company. But as more and more of our products are themselves connected to someone's network, we have a whole new discipline of product security, product cybersecurity. And so this is a whole area where developers 15, 20 years ago didn't necessarily have to worry about the security of the product that they were making. They might be concerned about the security of the environment in which they were operating, but they weren't as focused on the security of the things that they were making because by and large, 20 years ago, these things weren't connected to the same network as everything else. That time is gone, right? Everything is interconnected. And so those folks are having to learn new tools. They're having to learn new skills alongside the skills that they've had for a long time. So that kind of bringing you back to training, which doesn't mean that it's a completely different set of skills. It's just a new way of doing something that you had done in the past. And I would say, around product cybersecurity, if you think about where do cybersecurity vulnerabilities come, oftentimes they come from a defect. So if you can reduce defects, which is quality is something that has never gone out of style and will never go out of style, this is just a new way to improve coding quality, and it has two benefits. One, it improves coding quality, which is great and very, very much down the middle of the fairway, but it also improves cybersecurity in the same breath. And so those kinds of tools can solve old problems and new problems together.
Piggybacking off of that, it's sort of like technologies that could be leveraged for this purpose. Obviously, in a sense, I mean, there's anything Slack, emails, all those kinds of things. But I'm just curious, specific to the security industry, are there anything that you guys, is there anything you guys are looking at to sort of improve, and streamline?
when we look at having these distributed teams that may be across multiple countries and multiple continents and multiple time zones, um, communications is number one, right? So to the extent that there are tools that can now improve employee communications, that can improve interpersonal communications, that can automate and reduce some of the kind of busy work or mundane work, those are all right down the middle there. Because I think as you're seeing different groups working at different times of day, and they want to share information back and forth and files back and forth, and um, connect across time zones and around the world. So those kinds of integrated communications applications, you could pick your favorite, but they're hugely helpful, right? And trying to, as much as possible, have at least the same tools. I think you can pick your favorite, but instead of having a dozen tools, you know, as many as necessary, but as few as possible. Right? Um, I think that's a big deal. And I think machine learning, artificial intelligence is are they good for everything? No, but they're good for a few things, and some of those things are empowering search across many different disparate fields of knowledge and stores of information. So being able to provide some of those tools so that the hunting and pecking, I know there's a document somewhere, I don't know where it is. These kinds of tools are really good at scouring these vast, denormalized kind of sets of data and data lakes.
As bluntly as I can put it, is just why is this a topic that you were specifically interested in kind of sharing your insights on?
Me personally, or ASSA ABLOY? I think it's
Okay.
both.
Yeah.
And why I think it's both is um, my team is spread out, and my team's goal is really to support the Americas in general. So we're working across many different centers of excellence around the Americas, from Canada to Tierra del Fuego. So the same kinds of challenges that I have are the same kinds of challenges that ASSA ABLOY has, right? We're a company that's grown through many acquisitions. We've got locations all around the world, and to be able to stay connected to all of the different groups around the world, the same challenges they have, across multiple divisions, are at a smaller scale the same challenges that I and my team have here in the Americas. So I think it's both, and yeah, I think it's really just a scale difference between those two. But why am I interested in it? Because at the end of the day, it's what helps me be successful, right? I like, and it's what gets me up in the morning. I like working with passionate teams. I always get excited when I get a chance to work with colleges and universities, and you get students who are super passionate about what they're doing. Um, and it's fun to be able to tell some of the stories to get them excited, right? We were talking about Windstorm a few minutes ago, and when we can share, hey, this isn't just some sort of thought experiment. We have products in schools and universities and healthcare facilities and the like, and some of them have been directly hit by tornadoes, and people have been safe on the other side of that secured door because of the things that we build. My children, their schools had fire exit devices that our company made. So it's not some kind of thought experiment. It's a real product that's really supporting someone's family is behind that door. And I think that it's not just purpose for other people; it's purpose for me as well. It gets me out of bed in the morning as well. So that yeah, I think I feel it the same way they do. I think that really is it. I don't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have anything better to say than that. I think
Sure.
it's true.
Absolutely.
Like like I was saying. I mean, both my son and my daughter, the fire exits on their school when they were in grade school are ones that were made by us. And so when it comes to testing and quality, it's especially important, right? When you think about, okay, your own kids are behind that door.
Peter, thank you so much for making time today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.